Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube Astrological segment, I'm going to be, talking about certain things connected with a previous video I made many years ago. Was about being shunned by the astrological community, and also want to touch up on, the possible ending, of my YouTube Astrology channel. And I'm going to get into that and some other things. But anyway. First thing up, well, some of you may remember, okay, as many years ago, may have been 9-10 years ago, I did a video on, what I felt was, in which I was being shunned by the astrological community. And the reason I felt that was because, I'd done, astrology videos for many years and had been, a part of the community and was starting to, I felt like played an integral role, and there was little communication, with whether it was the fans or the fellow, YouTube astrologers, and I still believe that is true. I know a lot of this is attributed, or at least some of it's attributed to me not having comments enabled on my videos, and maybe people are reluctant to reach out to me or whatever, but that's only part of the role. And the thing is, I don't really have, when I look at this, okay, there's been little communication, with people, and I've been doing this for like almost 12 years now, and what I really have, as a reward are diminished views on the videos. A lot of it's attributed to what I believe is likely, being shadow banned on my astrology channel, unfortunately, but I'm going to get to that and elaborate on that a little bit later. Now, the communication, bothers me is this, I'll have, people say to me, well, Edwin, you got, the comments disabled, or, you put, you're pushing, these people, you push people away sometimes. But here's the thing. There's a number of times when I've written to people, what people don't realize is, got to look at the other possibilities inside of the coin too. And Edwin's story side of things is that there's times when I've actually reached out to people, and I would have, we go back and forth, or maybe a few messages or so, then I'll be the last one to write, and then the conversation ends, and months go by and the person never responds. And I mean, I believe they know they got the message, and I can't help it if people don't want to continue a conversation. They got their excuses or whatever. I had to polish my nails, or I had to go on a bicycle that was powering a roller coaster. I had those duties to come up with some harebrained, lame excuse, because they just didn't want to be bothered. And it's sadness. It's very reflective and even maybe emblematic of the coldness that we endure in our society today. And another thing I want to get on, because there's a number of points to get through, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about each point. Now, the next thing is, there was something, this ties into being, to my degree, to some degree, being shunned by the astrological community. Some of you may remember, many years ago, it might have been about 6 years ago, maybe it was around 2018. What happened is we had, YouTube astrologer that was denigrating, a number of other astrologers for some reason. And I'm not going to get into all the gory details. Some of you may remember this. And I actually did a rebuttal video to in which I was standing up for the other, the YouTube astrologers, including myself. And to this day, I did not get a thank you from it. What bothers me is that, people, I know that at least one person, may have actually discouraged me, whether it was, that video, or just a video in which I was going to stand up for the YouTube astrologers, and basically going to say, oh, you're descending to their level, that person's level. And I understand that opinion and everything, but at the same time, sometimes we got to appreciate the positive in what a person does for somebody. You know, if I'm the only one that steps up to the plate and is willing to make a stand, you know, a thank you would be appreciated. It doesn't take long to send, you know, a message to somebody and say, hey, Edwin, you know, good job, commendable. You know, you stood up to that person. You stood up for the, you know, for those YouTube astrologers. But I think, you know, I as much as I hate to be negative on this, some of it is tied into arrogance, that people think they're too good sometimes to even give a thank you to somebody that was just trying to be nice and help them out. And you know, to this day, that kind of stuff really still, I mean, it hurts. I mean, it really hits home. And you know, and that's tied into, you know, being shunned by the community, because, you know, for whatever reason, it's almost like people just find reasons to not even correspond with me. It's unbelievable. My Facebook page has very little activity. You know, my YouTube astrology channel has very little views. The last 10 videos I did, and I calculated this a little while ago, will average 55 views per video. I mean, that's blasphemous. That doesn't make any sense. And a lot of it, I mean, I don't have, you know, the full, you know, irrefutable proof or whatever, but I do believe that YouTube has, you know, likely shadow banned me, which, you know, doesn't really make any sense. But, you know, anyway. And also, too, there's something, I got at least, you know, I saw, you know, one correspondence I had, and I think they said something about, well, people don't want to be around negative people. I guess that was implying or intimating that I'm negative. Well, it's hard to be positive when you're in my situation. And even, you know, for argument's sake, if you want to say that I'm more negative than positive, sometimes, you know, those are the people that really need, you know, the people in their life. You know, it's funny, and I even saw a renowned astrologer had written something about, you know, I don't remember his exact words, but something to the effect, well, you know, I have abstained from negative people. Well, the thing about this is that negative people, again, the ones that are negative, can be very despondent. They might be melancholy. They may be the people that really need others more. And if you just use an excuse, well, excuse me, well, gee, you know, I'll stay away from him because he's negative, then you're just adding insult to abject misery. That person is already down in the dumps, but you're going to shun him anyway. You're going to shut that person out. And then what happens? Then the cycle continues. You know, and in terms of being unpopular, not having the people in the person's life that person really needs, but you're using the fact that the person is negative or cynical or whatever as a means to stay away from him or her. You know, so I'm just trying to put, you know, another spin on that, inject another viewpoint. But anyway, and that leads to more unpopularity and more of being shunned, unfortunately. Now, another thing I want to talk about, there was another experience I had right recently, you know, fairly recently. Maybe it was a month or two ago, and I had been helping somebody, right, that was, you know, enamored with my videos. She was a good fan of mine, and, you know, and I was helping her out with some transits or what have you. But, you know, the thing is, at some point, you know, I had interpreted and delineated some transit for her, and she was dismayed by it. She was, you know, she said, oh, I think astrology can be contradictory, and she criticized this, and I wasn't even anticipating, you know, any money for it. She offered something at some point when she got on her feet, but I mean, even if I didn't get anything, I wasn't really that worried about it. You know, the thing about it is we got to be, you know, more appreciative of those that care and that are willing to help us and not be so critical. Now, I understand somebody wants to be honest if they don't agree with the interpretation, but if you're unhappy with something like that, then you know, maybe you just don't need to be asking that person for help. You know, it's funny, you know, I saw something, heard something one time about, you know, the nice people that help others a lot sometimes are the most unhappiest people. Well, you know, that could go either way. Because, you know, if you're truly, you know, if you're enamored with helping people, you could help. You can be a happy person, even if you're dominated by helping others and you're depriving yourself to some degree. But I think what it is the reason why some people can become really unhappy when they're helping others constantly. Well, what happens is it can take away from their own life to some degree, and a lot of times when they're helping others, they may not get, the deserved reciprocation, and maybe. But I mean, I'm not saying, when you help somebody, right, there really shouldn't be an anticipation of something in return. But you would like at least those people to show more gratitude, more appreciation, stay with you, as a friend or what have you. And I think what happens is some people wind up helping others a lot, and then what happens is the people that they help, sometimes just kind of dissipate out of their lives. I mean, actually, they just, they move on, they move to a different location. You never hear from them again. So I understand. And then the person that was helping that other person becomes very dismayed, very distraught by this as a result. So, this is where, that's where things I can understand. And I've had, that experience, unfortunately. People got to understand, being a nice person obviously doesn't guarantee anything. People can look at me, they could see where I'm doing the video from. I'm a 54-year-old man, right? I hardly get any views on my YouTube videos anymore, right? Hardly got anybody in my life, and I've been at a lower level income for a good part of my life. I think it's borderline poverty level, if I'm not mistaken. I got to look at the numbers later. But the point I'm making is that, if you think like, oh, just because you got a good disposition, everything's going to just be fine for you and you're going to have a great existence. People are in for a very rude awakening, and I'm living proof of it, unfortunately. I'll see, astrologers that have like do a lot of this is what my next point anyway. You'll see a number of astrologers, they do their collab videos, whether it's on TikTok or YouTube. They have their interaction with them. And, to this day, I mean, my best of my knowledge, I did a collab video with someone one time, but it wasn't really exactly, I don't think you would consider her a YouTube astrologer, but there was a couple I did with someone. But, the best of my knowledge, there hasn't been, one that has been done with another astrologer. And I've been doing this for 12 years, and sometimes there's a thing called introspection. I understand sometimes we got to look at ourselves and try to understand, well, why this is. Why have people abstained from being involved with me? I understand I have the YouTube comments disabled, but I do have comments enabled on TikTok. And the thing is, it's not like people can't, reach out and contact me. Hold on a moment, people. It's time to get some. I'm losing my Taurus Rising voice box or something now. I don't know what's going on. Well, anyway, sorry about that, people. But now the next thing is, the people, that, want to respond, or they write, if somebody writes me on this, I don't need any, more negativity. There's already, been a lot of negatives going on in my life. And, I could be looking at, the possibility of dying alone, and it's not a lot of fun right now. Maybe that has something to do with me contemplating actually ending the YouTube astrology channel, because maybe my passion and desire is dwindling a little, and it's just not quite there. A lot of it, again, due to the lack of support for the videos. And I'll put my videos up on Facebook sometimes, and even on Twitter, and there's just very little interaction. And just like, it's not like I need, thousands and thousands of views on them. But the thing about it is that you got to remember that you have to be able to justify making the videos. If the videos get to a point where, the viewership goes down even more than they are already, then there would be no point in making them. Because if hardly anybody's watching them, what's the point in going all out and producing the videos, right? So that's another thing too. And what I want to get at is, as far as something negative, we need to, positive energy. I want to get backtrack again about if you're going to say something, negative, I ask, please don't. That's not going to really help. That's going to just add, insult to abject misery. I need all the positive energy in my life. And, the thing is, it's kind of like, if you had here's a good analogy. If your computer screen is messed up, right? And somebody were to come along, and do something to the motherboard, loosen it, or mess up the graphics card and just make it worse. The thing is, I don't need people making things worse on me right now. It's already, your life's a little bit of a my life's a little bit of a downer at this point, and per usual, very few people want to be part of it, and which I don't really understand. I got a lot of good qualities. I don't do any drugs. I'm not involved in alcohol. I even smoke cigarettes. I set plenty of good examples for others if people would just give me a chance. But you can beg and plead, and if people just have their doubts and they want to keep their distance, what can I really do? I've interacted with people in the community. I've actually, at times I've commented on posts, and sometimes I don't even get an acknowledgement. There's not even like a check that shows that people saw what I put on. So, I think what's happened is I've become discouraged from doing this, and as a result, that could be diminishing some opportunities, but it would be hard to blame me, for not wanting to put give commentary on something, because I don't want to waste my time if people are just going to ignore, the feedback that I'm giving. So, anyway, guess that's like a vicious cycle. But, and again, going to the, the viewership, situation. I mean, really, again, to expound on that, averaging 55 views over the last 10 videos. Now, the most recent one I had put on it and didn't finish, the day is not finished yet. So that one might get a little bit more, and, the average might be a little bit more than 55 over the last 10 videos, but maybe 60, 65 at best. Still, no matter how you look at it. I mean, my videos, I should be getting at least 1,000 views on each one per day. And then this video will hardly make any difference, because I've had similar videos to the one I've done now, and my viewership did not really escalate. So I'm not really looking, this is not a means to, to do something which is going to propel me and get more views. I'm not a glory hound anyway, but I would like to have more appreciation, and that could be shown through the viewership. But again, a lot of this, I believe, is attributed to YouTube likely shadow banning my YouTube Astrology channel. My understanding is, some people have asked, well, why, Edwin, why would they do that? Well, it's because my theory on it, based on what I've researched, it has something to do, if you're using some kind of keywords that are redundant, and I guess that would include tags. When I put tags in my videos, I'm very consistent with them. And, a person, unfortunately, that's structured and disciplined, it gets punished sometimes. And even in my titles, some of you may remember, I was putting longer version of the video at the end of the title, just to indicate to others that that was the longer version of a previous video that I had done. And the thing is, that's really about it. Well, what I'm talking about is, I guess the last thing I want to get at is that, as far as the YouTube Astrology channel I'm ending, and there's a good chance I'll keep doing the videos for a little bit longer, maybe to the end of the calendar year. But I think what's happened to me now is that is a little, there's some exasperation, some frustration that's coming into play as a result of not getting the viewership that I really believe I deserve. What YouTube has done to me. Maybe I can go to some other social media platform, maybe be more active on TikTok. I don't know. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing astrology completely, but at some point I may very well have to end things on the YouTube Astrology channel, because if they're not getting views, it gets to a point where it becomes futile and just a complete waste of time doing it. And I'd hate to have it come to an end after all these years of doing. I mean, we're going on almost 12 years now, for me with my YouTube astrology channel. And when I say ending, I need to elaborate on that so people, because some people, it's a little ambiguous. When I say ending, some people might think I'm going to delete the channel and just, get rid of it. That's not what I'm going to do. When I say end the YouTube astrology channel, what I'm saying is I would make my last final video on it, in the near future maybe. But I'll still keep the channel up so people can still see the videos that were made. But it just doesn't, for me, doesn't really make any sense to keep doing the videos on the channel if nobody is watching them and they're not getting, the respect that they really, they truly deserve, And I mean, it's a shame. You'll see videos out there where people be doing the most outlandish things. They'll be performing stunts and whatever you gotta do. You might have somebody climbing the walls with suction cups on their hands, being Spider-Man. Something like that will get all kinds of views. But like someone like me, that's just trying to put out, information for people to assimilate, and I see them as good quality videos, and people just are like, and they don't want to be bothered looking at them. So, I don't really, feel, a need to keep doing something necessarily if it's not getting the respect and the love that I feel that they deserve. I have to love myself, right? If I can't get it from other people, I have to just say, hey, you know what, Edwin, you got to show a little self-respect, and you got to do whatever you have to do in this particular situation. My best friends at this point, I would say, are Ed, and Eddie. There's very little communication anymore with anybody in this astrological universe, and which really doesn't make any sense. There's people that have been doing, these astrology videos a lot less than I have for less time. And they got, they got people in their lives. They have, all kinds of, fans that want to interact with them. And sadly, it's just become the opposite for me. It's living proof that longevity doesn't always mean that you're going to have, what you feel you deserve. And, in terms of the interaction and, having, the fans, giving you the support that you feel that you deserve. So those are some things, that that you can understand, what's going on with me right now in this my YouTube astrology channel. I'm just trying to look to make sure that I've covered everything on here. I think I've pretty much got everything now, and that's just one, and that will do it. And anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.